Hey guys, what's going on? This is Independence. In this video, I'm going to go over some helpful macros and tips regarding Holy Paladins in Arena in Warlords of Draenor. Let's jump on into it. Now, the important thing you have to realize about macros is that most of them are not mandatory. They're just helpful ways for you to do things a little bit faster or easier. It's like you can make modifier macros to save space on your action bars with keybinds. You can also save space for keybinds by putting multiple cooldowns into one macro. Now you have to type /m for your macro list. I'm going to be going over mostly the Paladin macros that I use in this video, and I'm also going to put a paste bin link in the description underneath, so if you want any of my macros you can just copy them. Something that's very important to realize is I'm very unorganized with my macro list. My general macros have a lot of macros from different classes, including my Paladin, and I have independent specific macros, of course. So the first macro I'm going to go over is the Aura Mastery macro, or Devotion Aura rather. And all it does is basically just yells that Aura Mastery's up and everyone can free cast. It's awesome if you're not in Skype with people or for RBGs or things like that. Now my two Blessing macros both automatically target myself when I'm casting my buffs. This is good if you're in the middle of an arena and you need to rebuff really quick. You don't have to like de-target the allies that you're targeting to target yourself to buff, because sometimes your ally's not going to be in line of sight. This is just a bubble macro with the old bubble icon that I like. The next macro is my Dispel Macro. It's a mouse over Dispel macro that I mostly use in RBGs, but I guess you can use it in arenas too. For arenas I mostly target to Dispel, but in RBGs you may want to mouse over your raid frames and dispel your allies that way, because it'll be easier to not have to drop a target if a healer needs a dispel while you're healing your DK per se. The next macro I have is a mouse over Turn Evil macro, and this is really awesome for when you're fighting Shadow Priests or Affliction Locks or pretty much anything that has an undead pet, DKs included. Basically all you do is you mouse over the enemy undead target and you cast this, and you cast Turn Evil so you can fear them without having to worry about, getting spell locked by a observer, or if a DK Lichborns you can turn him evil and get a full fear on him too. This is just some cheap Flash of Light macro that I made just so I can change the icon of Flash of Light, because I really like this icon. Over here is my Focus Hammer of Justice. It turns to Fist of Justice just because that's the talent that I have currently, but all it is a focus target for Hammer of Justice. Here's a Focus Rebuke macro. I don't use this one too much. You'll see the actual Rebuke macro that I use more often in a sec here. But here's a Hand of Sacrifice macro. Hand of Sacrifice is now off the global cooldown, so what you do is you put this macro in, and it makes it so you don't double sack accidentally. It'll just change the icon to Lay on Hands for 1 second until it goes back to Hand of Sacrifice. And over here, here's my Shit macro. Basically what this does is, if I'm playing with a Warlock, it uses Healthstone in combination with my Divine Protection. Not mandatory, it's probably not the most efficient way to be using your cooldowns as well, but I never play with Warlocks, so when I do, I forget that I have Healthstone, so this is kind of just a failsafe for me. This is an old Holy Shock macro that doesn't matter anymore, actually. Seal of Insight, spammable. When you spam Seal of Insight, it'll deactivate it every time you recast it. This basically just makes it so that you can just spam it, so if you already have it up, you don't accidentally turn it off. And over here, here's my Rebuke macro that I do use. It's my Swiftie Rebuke macro, basically. All I did was take Swiftie's multi-kick macro and change it for Rebuke. It's not the best thing to use in Arena, but it's totally acceptable as a Holy Paladin because you rarely are in melee range of a caster. If you are in melee range of a caster, that's probably the only person you're going to want to kick at the moment. And that about covers all the macros that I use on my Holy Pally. I can show you the specific macros, but I don't use any of these. Repentance is gone, T-Morph, old spamming macros. Nothing really useful for Arena though. That's about everything. I hope that you guys were able to find some of this helpful. Maybe you can use some of my macros. Maybe you can edit some of my macros. Maybe you guys can even recommend some macros that I don't use that are really good macros for Holy Paladins. I'm going to be making macro guides for Resto Druids, Disc Priests, eventually Resto Shamans, and also Warlocks. So stay tuned, subscribe for that in the future, leave a comment as feedback, like the video, go check out Good Gaming. Actually, go check out Arena Junkies as well, because there is a Gamers League tournament coming up in WoW. So make sure you guys check that out too. I'm going to be cameramanning for that. Thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you next time. Indy out.
That's when you know it's for real. old life blown away in the blink of an eye. Nothing left but all the time in the world.
No, I ain't going out like that, like that. And I ain't going out like that. No, I ain't going out like that. Without making some noise.